All right, cool. So today is March 11th, Monday, SIG Release Meeting. So, Sophia, I know last meeting you wanted to discuss about GH actions. Then I saw your message. Sorry, after we canceled the meeting. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
So I know you did some experiments with the modification, and then also you found the same issue. So probably, please take the floor and let's discuss that.
Yeah, I guess like I was talking to Rado and maybe Victor also offline, but the I guess the main issue is changes to either a new or an existing uh, GitHub workflow seems to get blocked in Prow. I was chatting to Rado, maybe more to add, but I think there were changes recently added to quite a recent version of Prow that might address some of our issues, like possibly being able to. We also have an issue in terms of not being able to trigger a rerun of um failed actions, if you like. Well, the admins have a button to click to rerun, but general public don't. But yeah, I would hope that some of the issues, the conflicts between Pro and and the GitHub actions might be resolved with an upgrade on Pro. But I guess Rado could probably answer that better in terms of how much work is involved to actually upgrade to the latest Pro version.
Yeah, I've started working on it. It's the upgrade itself. It's not really like complicated or time consuming or whatever. More the problem is to test everything out so we don't lock ourselves out from the GitHub workflow when something goes wrong. And I also have to think about some viable backup strategy for our infrastructure. So for now, we have everything in Git, namely the configs, but to restore it to the fully working state, it would take time, and I have to think about something that's kind of automagical, where you just could, just maybe not press the button, but just run some script to set it all up. And also on a side thread, I started investigating an option to have the second, like a small Prow instance that normally would be like a testing ground, but we could switch to it in case our main goes down. So for now, Prow's been behaving very well. We didn't have like a knock on the wood, but we didn't have any surprises there, any outage and so on. But just to be safe, I think it would be good to have some kind of like a staging environment plus something to fall over if our main would go down. I'm hoping to finish this work this week, to be able to upgrade it and to see if it resolves all the issues with the GitHub actions. Also, last week I've been working on Dependabot configuration, as I was saying, I guess 2 weeks ago. The problem is with Dependabot, it doesn't have any logic to dive into the directory structure to be able to find, if, for example, if you have a project which uses like multiple Docker files, multiple Go mode files, multiple whatever definition of packages you have. And so basically you have to specify the whole path to every, let's say, Docker file that you have in your repo, right? So there's no, like, you cannot put like, the asterisk, use some globbing or whatever. So this has to be configuration has to be generated automatically. So there's one GitHub action that does this, but it's pretty unmaintained. It's using the Node version 16, and from like a few weeks ago, GitHub started showing this message that your action is using Node version 16. It's gonna be abandoned sooner or later, blah blah blah. So I was really reluctant to use something like this. I've wrote simple script to generate this configuration. It's waiting in a PR against test infra. But the other thing is with generating this kind of doing this kind of flow in GitHub Actions is that you will have to create either a commit or pull request to merge these changes, and the authentication token that's generated for a GitHub Actions bot, it doesn't have access to create those. So you have to generate like the first thing, like historically that was used for it was personal access token, which is pretty unsafe because it doesn't, you cannot set the scope for like certain repositories and so on. It's like personal access token is for everything, and that's it. So I've been working last week on creating something safer. So there's an option, for example, to use let's say like a service account for it, but also there's an option to use a GitHub application that will generate like ephemeral access tokens that can be scoped only for a repos on which this application is deployed. In this way, we could more granularly control like what we've given access where. So I'm not really a fan of like big scope access tokens, because once this leaks out, we can be in a bit of trouble. Luckily, with like how Git works, we'll still have the source checked out in multiple places. But I imagine if one of the repositories gets compromised, it will be a huge pain for everyone involved. Just to recover from this. So this was my last week actually focusing on, because this Dependa bot or whatever dependency tracking bot, it makes kind of a big difference in our OpenSSF score. It has like a 10 points weight, which is pretty substantial, and we don't have any solution in place right now. So I've got the config file generated. They can be applied like right now, let's say, if we want to enable it. But to be able to generate them dynamically as we change for example, somebody adds the Docker file or whatever, this will probably take some more time. So hopefully also this week I will finish this work. And yeah, those are basically my two updates I have for today. And everybody went quiet.
Yeah, that's a lot to digest. Yeah. So I think obviously the pertinent question is obviously we want to use GitHub Actions, and we want to use Pro for some of the things. How is there any better way other than the manual push? I mean, that would be my fundamental questions. I mean, any insights from anyone on that one?
So just to speak to it, what also Fiakra was saying. So if we have to find some other solution for CI that allows more complicated flows. So like you can make jobs dependent one on each other. You can create like the pipelines that will execute jobs based on some conditions and so on. Just for whatever, sort of making like more granular end-to-end testing or something like this. You cannot do it in Proud. So the first thing to investigate was GitHub Actions, which is basically integrated with what we've already used, right? What we're already using. And there was some nice work done by Fiacra to test their viability for example, end-to-end testing. But there is a problem, as Fiacra was saying. The security approach for those is a bit different from what we have in Prow, and it's, I would say, more restrictive. In case we have somebody new that's committing the code and so on, and for example one of jobs fail, to restart this job in Prow, if you add the label OK to test, then you can just rerun the tests until your submit the code until your code is good. With or if a job just fails because whatever, some glitch in testing environment. With GitHub Actions, it's a bit more complicated. So as Fiacra was saying, you can retrigger the job only if you're in repository admins group, which will require some additional work from people that have those sets of permissions. And so there is an integration that you can retrigger GitHub Actions with Prow. It seems to be very, very simple and not really. It's pretty rudimentary, but it's there. And also with an upgrade, we're hoping to have this working and to be able to have a uniform way of testing pull requests as we had until this time. So that's probably what's gonna our infrastructure look like for some time now. For abandoning Prow completely, it is of course an option, but I think it adds a lot of value to have this, and there are commercial products which offer the same functionality. So there's obviously a need to have this kind of solution. So I wouldn't be so so eager to just dump it. That's just my opinion. To just dump it completely.
I wouldn't. That's not really my proposition, but I guess my issue is that it's a blocker. Unfortunately, because I don't. Okay, we don't have. You don't have to use GitHub Actions, but I think for things like CI jobs, I think, and as you said, chaining jobs or having job dependencies, it's there out of the box, and you have a whole marketplace of different actions that you can use, at your disposal. But if the pro hooks are blockers for that, I think that's an issue, right? And it's hopefully an upgrade will resolve most of them, but yeah. To me, we're losing the ability to run GitHub Actions easily or add new ones easily.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
Unfortunately, so yeah. But I guess to your answer, Bala, yeah. Unfortunately, at the moment, the only solution is for a repo admin to manually push the change but only on the change to an actual workflow YAML as well.
Okay, and yeah, I think Tal has his hands raised. Let's hear from Tal, and then I have a question.
I'm mostly confused. So I'm trying to follow everything, but I don't understand. If we have a separate GitHub action, that has nothing to do with Porch at all, is it going to confuse Porch? I mean, Porch will just not know if something is merged or anything. I'm not clear why we
That's
can't.
not Porch Pro.
Yeah, so sorry, I do
Yeah.
this a lot. I really
Yeah.
apologize. It's confusing. Yes, Prow. I
Yeah.
meant to say Prow. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, the problem here is if you will have like a GitHub action failing, to restart it, you have to have like a admin rights, and with Prow you can just rerun the failed job. Once you're either a member of organization or you're assigned to the repo as a committer, or you're a external contributor, but somebody to your PR added the label OK to test. With GitHub
Yeah,
Actions, that's not the case, and if the job fails and you want to just re-trigger it without pushing like a fake commit or something, this has to be done by repo admin.
That's we have
separate,
there is a workaround there. There's a workaround to that's what I've been doing. It's just pushing a change, a new line commit basically to re-trigger the job. But I think to your when it goes to LGTM approve, sorry for cutting across you, but when you go LGTM approve, it gets stuck in Tide. So Tide is the component that merges the code, or if I'm right, Rado, that's the merge action. Sorry, I cut across you.
Yeah, so we're not talking about Git options generally. We're talking specifically about GitHub actions that would merge, right? Those are where we need to funnel it into Tide, right? That's the point. If I'm understanding correctly.
Yep.
Okay.
So it looks like if there's a GitHub Actions workflow, and so during the merge process, obviously it's conflicting with maybe some of the actions that Prow takes with Tide, and probably that's where it's getting blocked. So do you think the problem is with the Tide or Prow now? Just wanted to see whether is that a valid question?
Yeah, I mean the problem is the Tide is a browse component to handle the merge, and it just gets into this loop where it basically does nothing, and just blocks there. So hopefully, I mean from the PRs, from what I saw in last few merges to Prow, there was some some work that touches this area. So I suppose there was some like API changes in GitHub or something, or whatever the GitHub proxy that Prow is using. That's just blocking this this merge, and it's only this component. So we didn't have any problems with pushing like whatever files to Git. That just for the GitHub Actions workflow, and this, as Fiakra said, would be a problem if you want to switch them as a CI solution for more complicated flows. So hopefully this will be resolved with an upgrade. If not, we'll have to, I guess, reach out to Prow authors and to see if they can help out with this. Fiakra already.
Yeah, like I posted on the Pro channel in Kubernetes and got a kind of a look at the tickets reply, but also that it's quite basic. So the Pro GitHub Actions integration is quite basic and never got too much engineering attention, especially as GitHub Actions feature evolve. Yeah, so I guess what he also said, so I think neither Kube or OpenShift, two huge Pro deployments, use actions too much. So it's probably not on their radar or not on their but yeah, we can see what hopefully an upgrade fixes everything, and we don't have to discuss it anymore.
Yeah, I think yes, I think so. And in the meanwhile, I just wanted to see the I think probably the admins of the repos, please help us. I think we have some of the Tal is definitely here. We have maybe we have Wim also here. Probably we will have to bother you a little bit more if there is any workflow. Please merge those things on an expedited basis because it has to be a manual thing. That's the one request in the interim that we can do. Then probably Fiacre probably we can just put the messages in Slack and then increase the importance of that. And then tag
Yeah.
Tal and Vim and other
Yeah,
admins.
no, I've Tal has been very good. I've been annoying
Yeah.
him, and he's been pushing it in. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
and we can annoy Tal. He won't be annoyed. You know that. Hey Tal, go ahead, please. I know you have a hand
Not
raised.
annoyed at all. It's a privilege
Yeah.
to serve the community, of course.
Yeah.
I have a general question though. I'm not an expert on Prow at all. I'm just a humble user, and I've heard Rado speak about the advantages it brings to us. I haven't heard any counter arguments. There might not be any, but I wonder, if there's. And Rado, sorry, I really don't mean to undermine your opinion here, but I think you would be open to it too. If let's say we abandon Prow entirely and just use GitHub Actions, like basic ones for what we need, will we really be losing that much? I mean, I think we would have more control over things. We wouldn't have to be beholden to Prow. I guess, are there pros and cons in that situation, or is it just so obvious that we should continue using Prow?
Well, for me, there are two, maybe three big advantages of having it. First of all, is this auto merging thing where you basically don't have to. You can like specify what kind of merging strategy you can have for specific repositories and so on. If you squash commits or not. If you can, for specific PR, you can do the squashing or not, just with using the commands. Otherwise, it's just changing the settings in your repo. So it's kind of like you don't do it often, but it's a nice feature that you have this kind of control. The other thing is the job dashboard, which is like with GitHub Actions. I was to investigate it if we can put this the results of GitHub Actions to something like a test grid or whatever. But I just maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I just like to have some way of checking like visually on one side if everything's failing, something's failing. You got this on the top of the Prow page, you have this how many builds are failing and so on, so you can kind of see like the condition of your either CI environment or generally the whole project. And yeah, like just things for like browsing the logs with Prow is much easier than just clicking on these triangles in GitHub Actions. And there's one thing that really annoys me. If you've probably seen this also a lot, if you have a failure in your GitHub action thing and it contains a few like sub actions, it doesn't expand, at least for me. Maybe I have some like some ad block whatever thing blocking this, but you have to just expand all of them to check where they failed. Where's the red dot with an error. With Prow, we just basically how's this component called that filters out the log and basically just presents you this part where it says error, failure, whatever. So it's just faster to see what's going on there. And also you got things like you can apply the policies to the repositories. So if somebody by an error or whatever clicks just disable required checks for PR to be merged or whatever, you can just reapply them with Chrome-like job in Prow to keep all your repos in checks. So there are advantages to it for sure, but I mean there are projects that are not using it and they leave, right? So it's hard to say, like you said, if we really lose that much if we just dump it. I don't know. It like for me it really is a matter of what you guys like, what helps you with the development, and yeah, that's what ultimately is our job, right? To help you to feel comfortable in a project. If it requires, dumping the prow, then it can be removed where it,
I guess if this particular issue that Fikra mentions is resolved somehow, then all this becomes a non-issue, right?
yeah.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe we're making too much of a big deal out of this. If we can get some assistance maybe from the POW team and just solve this, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's wait until the upgrade's done. If it still makes a trouble, we reach out to the Kubernetes community,
Yeah.
To see if they can help out with this. If this will present as a bigger problem, then we can think about strategy of slowly just dumping it in somehow.
I guess the changes to the actual GitHub Actions is probably, one setup would be very, very rare touch. You know what I mean? But so I guess then once if that doesn't get resolved, there's still a kind of workaround. But the rerunning of the jobs would be something that would be a requirement for me.
Yeah.
Easily being able to retrigger your CI would be
Yes.
a very big desirable. So yeah.
Yes, that's an issue, which is like with Prow it will be much easier to handle, because jobs not only fail because you've submitted a code that's not, like, let's say, not compliant with some like policy checker, or just
Yeah,
with some errors. Sometimes they just fail.
the false red flag, yeah, and then yeah.
So that's one thing. I sorry, I didn't put this into the agenda for today. But there's also a thing that's kind of started before the R2 release. We started some discussion about like what will be the kind of like a workflow, so to speak, to make somebody part of the project, and how one advances in a project. So we have to also think about at least a document. So I'm very open to for some help on this. Some document like how to start contributing to Nefio, and to how to become like the committer, whatever, owner of some part, and so on.
Sure,
Yes.
I think that's a great initiative. I can work with you on that one. Sure.
Yeah, it would be great.
Yes,
Sagar,
surely.
Sagar, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Raro. I mean, it's on the same note, more or less. What about using some different tools rather than GitLab or GitHub CI, like something like Kraken CI, which is more like Jenkins? It's not old, but it allows us to bring infrastructure from a lot of places. It allows a lot of manipulation. And especially Kraken, it's all written in Python. It's even easier. Probably all the scripts can be just reused. We just need to place it somewhere. Let's say we need an infrastructure where the Kraken is running all the time. That's the only problem. What about using such tools? Do you know?
Yep. Yeah, I've tested few solutions working on this before R2 sometime, and well, the big upside with GitHub Actions is for really small jobs, you don't really have to have anything, because you can rely on a GitHub runners, which basically for open source project, it costs you nothing, right? You just run them on your code base, like simple linters and stuff like this. And it nicely integrates with GitHub. With other solutions, like in some previous projects, I often had this problem. There was some broken communication between CI which is hosted somewhere, and your source repository which is hosted somewhere else, and then like some job finished but you don't have logs and stuff like this, it kind of creates a mess. So GitHub Actions, it's really nifty in this way that it's really integrated with Git with GitHub. So we kind of killing two birds with one stone. Actually, probably more birds with one stone. Yeah, Victor.
Yeah, well, I was thinking like, I mean, maybe before starting, like looking for different alternatives or solutions or using different tools, I guess that the first step that we have to do is just to collect all our requirements as a CI team. Like for example, like in our particular case, we have different repositories where every single repository generates different binaries or even Docker images, and those Docker images has to be synchronized with the catalog and using specific tags and all these things. So I guess I think that we have to first try to put it in some place, like collect all these ideas and specify what we need, and maybe from there, like I guess that we can like brainstorming and start like looking for the right tools to meet our requirements, because otherwise we're going just to try to just fix a few things and not try to cover everything all. That's probably my human opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good point, but generally, I guess we've already put some work into GitHub Actions, so it would be like a first choice to use them. But if there is a solution that brings more benefit for the whole community, I guess it would be good to if somebody has this like proposal to, okay, let's use Jenkins X, whatever, like Hudson if it's still alive, probably not, or whatever CI solution, just to have kind of like a POC to present, like, okay, it will give you this and that benefit for the workflow that you have or you want to have, or something like this. I guess that would be the most like a productive, I guess, thing to have something working to present. If somebody thinks like, okay, I can do it better with solution X or Z.
Yeah. I mean, this project is not unique, but probably the uniqueness about this particular project is that we have like a middle step with is using the catalog project. So basically, we cannot consume the output directly from the repos. We have to have that intermediate step. But yeah, definitely, I'm in favor of any tool that make our life easier.
Yeah, awesome. Right. Cool. Thank you. So essentially we'll upgrade and then we'll revisit this particular topic. Cool. I think on the last week's note, I think Liam wanted to discuss one point about. I mean, can we park this at this point of time? Can we move to the next topic?
Yeah, from my side, I guess
okay, cool.
That's okay.
And then obviously, Radu, me and you will come up with the document on contribution stuff. I think I had it somewhere. Probably I can.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You were saying something that you had something already.
If it is there, I think let me figure out. Like I said, I'm technically on PTO. Probably let's coordinate on this next week, Radu. So
yeah, no worries. I mean, we're not in a rush. I don't see people knocking at our door with a lot of commits, but it's just to remember. I want to mention this.
Yeah, and then Liam had a point in the last week. So obviously we didn't have the meeting. Says Liam wanted to have addition of people to owner's file.
Yeah.
So I think I totally agree with Liam. So Liam, please take it.
Yeah, we had a discussion going on the discussions about this, but it kind of didn't it just the discussions there wasn't very many contributions. But then there was after I raised that there was quite a good discussion on the on Slack on the threads there. I know that people see that. If I can find it now. Yeah, there was 9 replies, so I think the consensus were, I mean, you could get as complicated or as not complicated as you want on this. My own personal feeling is if people want to become contributors, maybe just do like just raise a PR to go into the owner's file, and it'll get assessed by the community. I don't think we have a huge amount of contributors at the moment anyway, so maybe we don't need a huge amount of process. That seems to be kind of the consensus I got from the thing. Probably a more interesting, or also another interesting aspect was what was I think was it Tal brought it up, where we have some sort of rotating sort of Uber, shunter or rancher, or what was the few words there? Review, Hancho, overseer, ringleader, boss, the Highlander, Terminator. I thought that was an interesting idea, and maybe that's something that we could think about. I don't know. That was the the gist of the discussion, really. So maybe we don't need a huge process here. I don't know. What do people think?
Yeah, I definitely think probably we can expand the scope of owner's file is what I believe. If obviously community thinks that we are still not there yet, we can understand. But Tal, what do you think? I know you have you agree with this opinion. Probably we should increase the number of members in the owner's file. It's very restrictive at this point of time. Is that what is that the right assessment others share also?
Well, from a personal point of view, I raised a PR and got at it on the nephew on the porch one. So if you like, the urgency of this for me, the selfish about it, has gone. But but for others, I don't know. Is that as a process okay? That we just people just nominate themselves, and then we just take it in a first. We take in the requests as they come, if they come. Would that be okay with people?
Yeah. I mean, the problem here is like we're coming back to the issue that we haven't established like the contributing .md kind of thing, saying like, okay, if you want to become like member of the project in repository this and this, create pull request against the owner file with your name in it, and then people will just revisit it. Okay, we know the guy, he made like there's some good contributions, and we're gonna add him or not, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is like nobody clearly says like, okay, you have to do this and that, and that's the part also of my reasoning to work next week or like in 2 weeks or whatever, to have some kind of document saying, okay, our workflow looks like this. If you want to join, you're welcome. You have to do this and this.
Yeah, I think when I was working on ONAP, it was the opposite. They had a very long and detailed process for which you had to go through, so that was the other way of doing it.
There was also a file with like the repository or process owners. I don't remember the name of it, but there was something like this.
Yeah, there was something there, but there was also a big document on the wiki about how contributors were elected and things. contributions, and it was
Yeah,
getting into all sorts of detail.
yeah, there was some voting involved and stuff like this.
You have to go to the TSC to get your vote. You have to get a voting, and then you had to inform the TSC, and it wasn't clear with the TSC. And because we, maybe at the stage we're on, the idea of this kind of triage is more more important to set up.
Yeah, I think that's one how people can become owners. But the current status, I was thinking, should we increase the scope? Tal, Stephen, Wim, what do you guys think? I know you three are the owners of most of the repos.
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion. I think I think the practical matters should prevail in this decision.
Yeah. I also don't have a strong opinion, but what you do see is that there is limited bandwidth typically, right? So the more people with the capabilities to do so, the better it is, right? So the problem is always, what is the right capabilities? I think, I think we all trust each other somehow, right? So there's nobody with bad intentions. So at the end of the day, I think that's what counts, right? And I mean, if we really see that it goes downhill, okay, then we have to do something, right? So, but at the moment, I think we benefit from more people.
Yeah, my approach has always been to be more welcoming. If people have contributed and put time in, that to me is so valuable. that trumps everything, and honestly, like what damage can happen? Everything can be reversed in Git. We keep the complete history. If somebody makes a mistake and, I don't know, deletes an entire repository, so many people have clones of it. I feel like I feel like the risk is so minimal. If it does become an issue in the future, then we could have a more systematic way of deciding who gets privileges. But at this point in the project, especially we don't have any. We're not pushing code to production, right? That's kind of the key here. And nothing here goes directly and will damage some telco users' environment, right? So I think at this stage in the project, being more nimble, being able to move more quickly, I think is more valuable than worrying about the risks.
Exactly. That's the beauty of Git and being this. It's whole spread basically around the globe with many copies. Like I don't see also any big problems with somebody just decides to push whatever, like empty files or just rewrite the history of commits or whatever. Just
I personally have a script that I run almost every day that does a git pull on all the Nefgit repositories. Probably not the smartest thing in the world, but I just don't think like we're not talking about even anything malicious here. I think we're talking about just people making mistakes, which we all do. But mistakes are reversible.
Just on the, just one, I give an example of something now that I just wanted to bring up. More about this kind of triage. You might have seen that Alexis put up a PR on the docs. Yeah, just when I come in the morning, I have a look at this fire hose to see kind of opened up during my night here, and I saw that that Alexis put up the architecture document. Now, personally, my view on that as a triager would be that would need careful review. And I wouldn't feel, even though that was just that the system automatically assigned that to me and to John, but I think it needs a wider sort of a review. Whereas maybe something like we are just bringing in, a unit test, small coverages, would require less. So I was going to, my instinct was to kind of ask other people to come and review that before merging it. But what those other people, who those other people are, would be interesting as well, an interesting question. And also what sort of time limit would you put on it? You don't want to leave it hanging there forever.
Right. So this goes a little bit into my proposal that I keep repeating that we can have a weekly triager, somebody who's on call for that week to do triaging, and we can collectively create some sort of basically a set of rules for a triager to follow, just like a few paragraphs. Say, okay, if this is something that is beyond your ability to decide who should do it, then you can post on Slack. Maybe the role of the triager is just really to follow up, to make sure that nothing gets forgotten. It doesn't necessarily mean that the triager has to do the triaging, right, or the merging or the reviewing, right? It's more about making sure that nothing is succumbed to rotting somewhere. This is the problem so many projects have, right? And in open source, but I think we're still small enough and we have enough contributors. Like I think that could work for us, right? I haven't seen anybody giving me a counter argument to this proposal, but if one of us has to do it for a week, that's not so bad. I think it's doable. If somebody really doesn't want to be included in that list of the contributors, I mean, no problem, we can remove them. But if we have a set of, I think we can get a set of like 10 people who are willing to be a triager on call. And that means you really only have to do it once in every 10 weeks, right? So I don't know. To me, it seems like a reasonable way to solve our problem.
Yeah. Henrik, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it's with me. I have even a simpler
Vim,
proposal.
so I keep calling you Henrik. Sorry, I apologize.
For me, the thing is the following. If a person puts a PR, he has an interest to get it merged, right? So why is the owner of the PR or the guy that creates the PR not driving it to a closure? And he can call anyone to get it resolved, right? So for example, in this one, probably you want to have a bunch of reviewers, but in my view, it is the person who initiates the PR who should drive it.
Yes, I think that's I agree with that assessment when it comes to,
because we can put all kinds of procedure and put these people in place and then this person is not available and stuff like that. I think it's way too complicated. So I think if you put a PR, I think you have an interest to get it to merge. So if you see that there is nobody reviewing you should drive it yourself, right?
Well, I think that's how we've operated until now, and I don't think it's worked well. But not everybody knows who.
We don't have the culture. I mean, we don't have the, because what happens typically, right? What happens today is the following. A PR is like, you see right now, like Liam gets assigned. It's basically automatically, right? Now, Liam might not be the right person. I don't say, so let's assume he is not the right person. The person, if you write a PR, you probably know who are the right people to review. So I would put the assignees, I did it always when I put a PR. I basically said, okay, these are the people that should review me, rather than having boards assign it. And then I was chasing those people to get the review. And I think that for me makes way more sense to get it through the chain. And it's just a culture in my view. It's not because we haven't worked like that. It's a culture. I think you have to push the people to get it through or act like that.
yeah, we will definitely note. I agree. I think probably we should note it down again in our next maybe probably we should note down in the Slack and also maybe in the SIG automation meeting as well. I think somebody was speaking something. So, sorry.
But then again, you have new contributors which might not be aware who's who in a project. Of course, some of them might just go through commits to see like who touched this file last and might be a reviewer, knows about this file and this and that, but I don't think many people will do this. So
but
for me,
Rado, we could have like a page where you say contributors, here is the procedures to get onboarded in FEO, right? And then this is and then that's how we help and support them. But
I mean, every approach for me, both of these approaches might work and be beneficial as long as as somewhere it says that this is what you have to do. because like new people incoming that might have no idea, how it works.
Yeah, probably that. I think the document maybe we start and can hope that that can alleviate some of the concerns.
Yep.
Yeah. I know we had one more hand actually. Fiacra, I think you had raised your hand. I think.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thanks, Paula. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we are almost. So just to conclude this, so in general, I heard we are open to increasing the owner's file scope. So
Yeah,
we
I think that is a given. So interested
Hmm.
people who has a history of reviewing and contributing should post the PLs to add them to owner's file.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think so. I think probably the action is interested folks, interested parties should volunteer. Is that the right thing, Stephen? You said should volunteer to be.
Yeah, someone should volunteer, but obviously we also want people who has a history of contributing and
Yeah,
has some review backgrounds and things.
Yeah, interested parties who have good history.
See, this is an interesting one as well because sorry, I should put my hand up. But in terms of adding new contributors or adding people to the owners file, the only references I can find or the only useful references I can find is Kubernetes and Proud. So again, that's based off an example project. It's based off a Kubernetes way of working. Do you know what I mean? Like
The owner's files.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like with that yeah, okay, I don't want to make your job more difficult, Bala, but in terms of, different strategies for onboarding new people. I know again, coming from Monap, there was a whole process and you had to have X number of commits and X number of, file updates and wiki updates and etc.
We'll be a lot less complicated than that for sure.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
but it's kind of, it is a crude yeah, I don't know what the procedure should be, but I think onboarding new people or inviting new people on board is top, should be top of the agenda for me, really, or should be high.
Yeah, you mean both for the newcomers and also for the
Yeah,
existing ones and making them more.
absolutely.
We do want to attract new contributors, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean all new contributors get the right to merge. That would
Yeah.
be different.
Of
Yes,
course,
yes.
and it should, maybe do you go to voting system then? Probably not. Or I agree with him. Like I feel bad annoying people on Slack to review my code or to review my changes. It's kind of, yeah. I won't go there, but I think it should be open as possible, I guess, is the.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I think probably we'll start with that guide, and we'll put that notice for the already well-known community members to be volunteering for this owner's file of particular interested repos. We'll do that, and then I wanted to finalize our branching strategy. Actually, to be honest, probably we'll discuss this in the next meeting. I think in the previous meeting we thought, I know we didn't have Wim, Stephen, or Tal, so we were leaning towards one branch per release, but probably we'll revisit it in our next meeting and finalize that strategy. That is one of the things that we wanted to do that came out of that perspective. So with that said, we were just over the time. Thank you so much, everyone. You have a
Thank
great
you
day.
very much.
Cool.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
guys. Bye.
everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, fellow. Bye-bye.